Welcome, you're listening to Passages, and I believe this is going to be episode 1, so I'm here with Tim and Jason, and we thought we'd start out telling you what the name of this podcast is all about. It's not the first name we came up with. We went through quite a list of some somewhat weird names.
Drew, you had a few names I had to look up in the dictionary. I'd never even heard of the word, and I think I had to go to the Greek lexicon a couple of times.
Which is not that abnormal because I do the same thing on Wednesday nights in Bible class.
It does occur a lot,
some good words sometimes.
Come on, guys. So we went with passages. And the reason is the cornerstone of every episode is going to be a quotation. Most of the quotations will probably be pretty well known to our listeners. We might explore some more obscure quotes, but these are quotes that have a lot of meaning to us personally and also have some kind of biblical significance, which is another way we're using the term passages. You know, you have Bible passages. Mm-hmm. And then also we have been friends for a long time, and we talk a lot in our personal conversations about the passage of time and life, and we're expecting that to enter into these conversations quite a bit.
Oh yeah, 22 years since we all went to dinner at Superior Grill, and we outlasted.
May she rest in peace.
Our friendship won over Superior Grill.
That's exactly right.
We are superior to the Superior Grill.
There you go.
Never go there on Mother's Day. Not that you can, but we made that mistake once. It took forever.
Yeah. Going anywhere on Mother's Day is usually a nightmare. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to talk about passages. So what we're going to start with are just, we call them stories. They might come from the news. They might be personal stories. And we're just going to share a few of those for a little while before we get into our quote. And Jason, you want to start?
Well, I think with the idea of passages, both the passage of time and things passing on into the future, I have a potentially really good story that is relevant. I have never eaten at this restaurant. Maybe y'all have and can give me some insight on this.
All right.
But I've seen all in the news the last week or two that Lloyd's restaurant is closing their Inverness location after 86 years of service in Birmingham. I've never been to Lloyd's. Am I missing something? Do I need to get in there before, I think it's October 15th.
Is that the one on 280?
It is. Mm-hmm. That's the
I used to go there with Ray Marsh.
Yeah.
He thought it was, it was like the Ruth's Chris of his life.
Is it your basic kind of meat and 2, meat and 3 restaurant?
Yeah, meat and 3.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's
or
basically
you can get a hamburger or something.
They built one, I think, I thought this was interesting that they built one in Sylacauga.
Yep.
Just recently, I think, and that one's going to stay open, but this one's going to close.
Yeah, it actually opened earlier this year, so it's like they're just moving everything a little bit farther to the east.
Yeah, but this was a landmark because I think back in the day, it was out there in the middle of nowhere by itself, basically, and then the city grew around it.
Yeah.
Well, that area is lots of traffic, lots of people around there. It may have to do with how bad the food is. I'm just going to take a...
I think I've eaten there one time, but I do have an interesting story related to Lloyd's restaurant. And a lady that used to work with me has passed away, named Melissa Bailey. She was a project manager on my team. Loved her. She was great. Her dad was Sheriff Mel Bailey, Birmingham sheriff for a number of years, and there probably still is on the menu down at Lloyd's something called the Sheriff Special. And I think it was something enormous. It was like a pound of hamburger steak and a pound of barbecue or something like that. But, I think those are the kind of meals that you can get at Lloyd's. It's
just meat.
It's going to stick to your ribs,
Yeah. You need to take a nap.
Just the vast number of articles I've seen over the last couple of weeks about it just indicates to me like how important this restaurant was to this area. And 86 years, that's a long run. I think it said it's the second longest continuously operated restaurant in the state of Alabama.
Really?
I think Bright Star was, if you want to advertise for us, Bright Star is still number one.
Bright Star is some good stuff. Yeah, but So I think to your point, yeah, I think we need a road trip to 280, and let's do it one time.
When is it closing?
But I bet that place is
We
packed.
need to make a road trip quickly because it's October 15th.
15th. We
Oh.
got 2 weeks from today.
Yeah, that sounds good.
We might not want to do it Sunday for lunch. We might need to sneak it in during the week or something.
Yeah, I think we need to make that happen.
Yeah, I like that.
Then we could come back. Our listeners will be on the edge of their seats wanting to know what we
That's
ate
right.
at Lloyd's.
And I might
Y'all
have
been
to,
saying it wrong. There are 2 L's in that.
That is true.
I might have to
Lloyd's.
get the sheriff special just to get it. I mean,
Yeah.
I
We could just
I
go,
would
Tim,
I would
Tim.
sit here and say there's no way that I could eat it, but really, I mean, there's probably
Where
a
there's
way.
a will, there's a
That's
way.
right.
I think we could figure it out.
I think so.
But I just thought that was an interesting kind of local tie-in that
Oh,
I saw
yeah.
this week.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been saving one since we started talking about this. This is dated, well, it's not too terribly long ago, August 6th. Florida burglar baptizing himself at Panama City Beach Church, joined by Sheriff K9. That's the headline. Have y'all heard the story?
I think I have from you, maybe.
It involves one of our sister congregations down in Florida. I'm just going to read a few excerpts here. The baptismal pool at one Florida church appears to be having an unusual impact on visitors, with an accused burglar and a search dog both ending up in the water. Investigators believe the law enforcement canine was attempting to beat the heat. However, the burglary suspect says a force held his head in the pool, resulting in him being baptized while in the church, the sheriff's office said in a news release. This happened Friday, August 4th at the Emerald Beach Church of Christ near Panama City Beach, about 120 miles east of Pensacola on the
I've
Panhandle.
been there before.
You been there?
I think so.
So deputies discovered the suspect from Georgia had used a center block to smash the window of the church to enter inside. A female employee was inside the church at the time and ran away. He said he could not remember what happened during various moments inside the church. He did remember, however, baptizing himself in the church's baptistry. He claims something, and that's in quotes, was holding his head down under the water while in the pool. And then there's a video online that's pretty funny. The officers went in to investigate with the K9 unit, and the dog went in, and they were looking for this guy, and the dog just ran and jumped in the pool.
I wonder
in
if
the baptistry.
wonder if something held the dog under also. I don't know.
You know, I think that's very possible. Now, I did some digging, and it seems that this guy had a bit of a problem with crystal meth.
Ah, that's what was holding him under.
So that might solve the mystery a little bit. But, you know, good thing for the Emerald Beach brethren, they have 2 baptisms they can add to their
That's
statistics
right.
for
That's
the
what I
year.
was going to say. We'd put that in accomplishments for 2023.
That definitely counts. Absolutely.
And does that answer the question, do all dogs go to heaven?
Well, that one does.
That's right.
That's a very interesting. There's so many questions that pop into my mind just thinking about that. Some of which I can't even bring up right now. But
I mean, I love that this is typical that the only person there was the secretary.
yeah.
These church secretaries, they go through.
And I think she did the right
So
thing by if someone threw
Oh,
a
yeah.
cinder block through the window and came into the building, I would run.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
No doubt. I'm out. Now, I'm calling as I leave, but I'm leaving.
This opens up the question, can one baptize themselves?
Apparently, he didn't listen very carefully to the article. He
Something
did not
was holding
baptize
him
himself.
under.
And the way that
Crystal
he was,
meth baptized him.
didn't he say something was holding his head down?
That's right.
So I'm not sure that was the proper form, because you're supposed to go backwards into the water. It seems like he was
right.
getting like a mafia style head dunk, where he was going down face first.
Where do you think that style came from, right, over the dunk? The dunk seems to be
Simpler,
much
right?
more effective, right? Much less likelihood for the body to tilt and the toes to come up in the air.
Yeah,
all
and
that
for
kind of thing,
A
right?
lot less likely to dip the waders if you're wearing waders.
Oh yeah, the scoop.
It's just like
the
hey,
infamous scoop
sort
of the bib
sort
of the.
Just squat on your knees a little bit or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna and back up you
Right.
come.
If I had invented baptism, that's what we would have. Okay, squat down till your chin is on the water. 1, 2, 3. there we go. But nobody asked me.
I think we should think about bringing back Philip and the Ethiopian eunuch both going down into the water. I think every time we have a baptism, you need to come out soaked head to toe.
At most of them, I think he does.
I don't know if that's what that means.
Well, it's what it says.
At least one side of his body's typically soaked head to toe because he gets the infamous dip.
Yeah, the dip is rough.
I like the wet sleeve. I wear the wet sleeve proudly.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Our brother Craig Evans always says the best sleeves are wet sleeves. I think it's what I see whenever he posts something about a
So according to that article, he says he doesn't know how he ended up in the water. Is that right?
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, but then he says something was holding his head down under the water while he was in the pool.
I think after that cinder block, everything's sort of a blur after that.
Yeah.
Another little side note I was going to bring up is I read a few articles on this, and this is a Florida story. AL.com got it right. The Florida stories were saying this was a Church of God. Do y'all run into this a lot? Confusion between Church of Christ and Church of God. I've been asked, when I get my hair cut or whatever, inevitably people are going to ask me what I do, and I say, I'm a minister. Where are you a minister? Church of Christ. And sometimes people say, do y'all handle snakes? Or, do you speak in tongues? And I'm not sure this is true of all churches of God, but I will typically say, I think you're thinking about the Church of God.
I also think you're thinking about a church I don't attend. Because if we were handling snakes, old T-Lay's out of here.
Yeah.
I don't.
You're a cessationist on that.
Yeah, unless handling it means hoeing its head off. Because that's what I do with a snake.
That's why God made snakes.
That's right, for me to knock the head off of them.
Target practice.
Oh, man. That's a good one. I like that one. The Emerald Beach. All right, we ready for another one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. This one is, I guess if I could give it a title, it would be Flinging Flamingos. So this was from about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and Hurricane Idalia came through the southeast. I think it hit up in Florida and then went maybe up the northeast, up on the coast. But it says that flamingos have been popping up in the most unusual of places since Hurricane Idalia blew through parts of the U.S. southeast last week. And so they've had sightings, it says dozens of sightings from Texas to Florida, as far north as Pennsylvania, and most states in between. And they're saying that likely the birds got caught up in the hurricane or possibly even in the eye of the hurricane and just flung them all over the place. And so they said bird watchers went nuts once they heard that this was sort of a possibility, and they found some in Ohio, and that was the northernmost point until Pennsylvania. And the whole point was, they're probably just the way they got there sort of questionable, right? Mm-hmm. But they said that there'd been recent storms like this, and the birds would probably hang around for a little while, and then they would start a migration back. But the best guess is that they were picked up in the storm on the Yucatan Peninsula and taken in that storm all the way as far as Pennsylvania.
You know who else I bet was really excited outside of bird watchers? Bird hunters.
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine I bagged a pink flamingo?
Somebody shot one.
Flamingos are always in season, right?
That would be spectacular.
There's no season in Pennsylvania. I think I'll take it.
Yeah.
So, that was
weirdest looking goose I've ever seen.
Yeah. So,
standing on one leg.
Because they said that apparently you think about flamingos in Florida, and I think about pictures you see.
Are they saltwater?
Well, apparently, the flamingo population in Florida has been hunted down or whatever.
Of course.
It says
I'm sure they're endangered.
Yeah, it says that they make up only 1% of the global flamingo population, and so that's why they were saying probably they were picked up. On the Yucatan Peninsula, still has a bunch of those there. So, anyhow.
Those great environmentalists in Yucatan are protecting the birds.
That's right.
It's always it always makes me wonder. Why do you think a flamingo always stands on one leg?
Oh no!
Oh no! Here we go. Dad
Why?
joke.
Well, if he picks the other one up, he falls over.
This dad joke brought to you by Leeds Family Eye Care.
That was a grandfather Welburn joke.
Machine going for the trap set.
Yeah.
All right, that's mine. So we've done the first round.
I've heard of it raining cats and dogs, but raining flamingos would be kind of an interesting thing during a storm.
We've got to take a break in which we will talk to Jason about his jokes, and then we'll be right back with a few more stories. All right, we're back. Jason, what you got for us next?
Okay, so
what's going on?
I went really local with my last story. This story, I'm bringing it from an international scene. This one's coming out of Copenhagen, Denmark. Not the can that we carry in our back pocket, but the city in a small country, Denmark.
That's a pitch pipe. That's not Copenhagen.
I don't know if y'all have seen this or not. So there's a Danish artist that was given a sum of money by a museum to create a piece for its exhibition on labor conditions 2 years ago. They had commissioned him to recreate two of his earlier pieces, which featured banknotes attached to canvases representing the average annual wage in Denmark and Austria. Well, this time he really went above and beyond in his work and submitted two completely blank canvases titled "Take the Money and Run" when they paid him money. So a court here in Denmark has ruled last week that this artist, which will leave his name out,
because in case he hears this, it would hurt his feelings if he's listening to our podcast.
Had to repay 492,549 kroner, which, if you don't know what
like
kroner is, it's $69,894 to the museum for having violated his contract. And he's appealing this, saying that what he turned in, which was two completely blank, white, empty canvases.
It's art.
It is. It was his interpretation.
He said that it was art, and it represented his current work situation, and that he was keeping the money. He had also been paid an extra $3,900 for creating the artwork. So it appears that we can be artists too. We don't have to have really a skill. If we can turn in a blank piece of canvas and someone pay us close to $70,000 for it,
you just need a good name for it. It's all you need, right?
Yeah.
It reminds me of a local, I guess, national story about a starving artist that got paid millions for his artwork that was really pretty bad. I don't want to bring him up because his dad's currently our president, but there was some overpriced artwork sold there.
Yes.
It sounds like a little bit of a scam going on. But can you imagine being paid $70,000 by an art museum to present art for their exhibit, and you walk in with two giant canvases, completely blank.
I hope he had them
title.
I hope he had them covered up, and then they hung them on the wall so they could do the unveiling or whatever. Yeah. Would have been awesome. I call this "Take the Money and Run."
Well, and then when they show it, and everybody's like, "I don't see anything." You just don't see it with the artist's eye.
He was hoping for an Emperor's New Clothes situation.
That's what I was thinking too. Yeah. But I just...
It didn't catch on.
And the fact that it's now tying up the court system over there, trying to get money back, the whole thing's just absurd.
They're spending like $1 million to get back, what'd you say,
60,000? Yeah.
60,000.
It's probably like 2 billion kroner, which is $1 million. So But
the problem was they paid him in advance.
Yeah, there's the problem.
You don't do that. And every one of your stories today reminds me of Ray Marsh. Ray loved Lloyd's. You know what I'm about to talk about, right? You remember when this guy needed some money, and he said, I'm a painter. And so Ray gave him a little money to paint this carport out here.
Right outside here.
Overhang. It wasn't a big job. And he got the money, and he painted one strip across the ceiling, and then hightailed it out of there.
Disappeared.
And because he had painted, he would have done better if he'd just not painted anything. But because he painted one strip, Ray had to finish painting it, which he did not enjoy doing.
Oh, that must have been before I don't remember that. That was before my time.
It was early in my time anyway.
But anyway, I just thought that was a funny story. I can't believe somebody would pay somebody for nothing.
So was the currency supposed to end up on the? I guess maybe he was doing banknotes or something or something. Yeah,
but nothing.
Blank
canvas.
And his first piece they were so impressed with was just money taped onto a canvas.
Yes.
So I can't blame him for thinking he would get away with this. Because
I can get away with anything, right?
Yeah,
I guess art is in the eye of the beholder.
But apparently they want something other than blank.
Yeah, and they're going after him, which, I mean, I think I would too.
Yeah, I'm on their side.
Yeah.
What if he went back and just drew a $sign on it or something?
Yeah, there you go.
You happy?
I wonder if he signed I do wonder if he signed the bottom of the blank canvas.
Oh, that'd be nice. That'd be a nice touch.
How do you know if it's his work or not if it's not signed?
Yeah.
That was a question I had too.
Sadly, that's a common thing in the art world. Is some absurd piece of art that's not really art. You know, a blank canvas.
Like the painter's starting his great piece, and he sneezes on it, and he's like, "Oh, that's perfect."
That's it.
Yeah,
that's beautiful. I wanted to go local here with this next story, up to Minor High School.
Minor High School.
This is not too long ago at a Minor High School football game. You know, it's at that time of the year, and most of us, the three of us, are usually at a football game on a Friday night. Good times, you know, lots of fun. You see your friends up in the stands. We had homecoming here last week, so big part of a high school football game, Tim, your son's in the band, is the marching band.
That's right.
And just recently up at Minor High, the police wanted to go home, and I forget who Minor High was playing that night, but the bands were kind of competing with each other, if I understood the story right. And one would play and the other would play, and this kind of went on way past time for them to go home. And the police got impatient and wanted to turn the lights off and go home. And the Minor High band director, he wouldn't stop. And so they tased him in front of all the kids and everything, and there's video of this. And I know it's not funny, but if I've ever been, I'll change my tune if I get tased, but I don't know, it's pretty funny watching a guy get tased. It probably goes all the way back to the "Don't Tase Me, Bro" guy.
Don't tase me, bro, yeah.
Look that up on YouTube if you've never seen it. Just, you know the guy's going to get it, and I guess in the moment you think it's not going to hurt that bad, but it always takes him down to the ground. There's nobody who can withstand the taser, right?
Yeah.
What is it? Do these things shock you? Is it electric shock? Is that what it is?
Well, don't some of the tasers like shoot a barb into you or something?
Yeah, they've got the little lead that runs back to the taser, and then it delivers.
And that's where it continues to do it, right?
And so as long as they're pulling the trigger, I think it keeps going.
And if you they can release, and you start getting up, they can hit you with it again, right?
Right, if they got the barb.
As long as it's in, yeah.
So there's some version that you basically just hit them with a device, right?
That's a stun gun.
Stun gun.
Yeah.
Oh, so the taser is the barb.
Yeah, it's the one that you'll see the police carry. Usually it's like a yellow. They make it yellow or some off color so that they can differentiate it.
Right, which there have been
tragic
right? It is important.
Mix-ups between.
So this was post-game. See, I was thinking
it was way after
so this
the
is
game
the
was
game's over, fans are going home, and the two bands are holding the field having a
They were like
drum
think
off.
Think about Drumline. Think about the movie Drumline, right?
Yeah.
And so I think they're playing back and forth or whatever. And if I remember correctly, I wonder if it would have been the same if it was a Friday night game, but it was a Thursday night game.
Oh, so there's a lot of attention on that game.
And I wonder if they were, but also it's like
school night.
It's not the end of the week or whatever. We need to clear this place out. I don't know.
I didn't know the police were responsible for turning the lights off at the stadium.
Well,
like at our home
minor
stadium,
high school,
the coaches do.
Yeah.
I wonder if do they play at Legion?
Well, there was probably a grumpy guy who wanted to go home and turn the lights off. Yeah. And he asked the police to get involved.
Guys, the older I get, the more I'm becoming the grumpy guy that just wants to go home at the end of the night. So I can kind of side with that guy.
I'm on the police's side.
Yeah.
Actually, I got to see the minor Purple Tiger band on Tuesday night at Sparks in the Park. So this guy was
there, right?
I think he was. We were assuming that he was. Most of the time, when the band performs, the guy down at the fence in front's likely to be, either they're up in the press box, press box, or they're down at the fence. So I think it was him. But I will say, they put on a show, so there was probably a lot of real entertainment going on back and forth between the bands or whatever. And I think maybe he was just like, "I'm not done yet," and I think the policeman was like, "I beg to differ."
Well, I pulled the article up here, and I may have read this story the wrong way because I'm reading here that the band director said it was agreed upon beforehand that the band would play 3 songs after the game as a part of a 5th quarter. And there's some disagreement here because Birmingham City Schools say a 5th quarter band performance is not a usual practice of theirs. So there was miscommunication somewhere.
And then I think I read somewhere in all this, because this was a very prominent story in our area, right? I mean, it's a big deal, right? That the band director told the policeman this is, like maybe in the course of that last song, that, this was it or whatever. I think, you mentioned in the story that, he wouldn't stop playing. Mm-hmm. Seems to be a lot of differences that are probably going to be ironed out in court, I'm guessing, because I think I read that the band director hired an attorney, and I think it's about to be on like Donkey Kong.
He's pretty mad, as you would be if you got tased.
I just did a search of the article. It was picked up by the New York Times.
I saw that.
That's crazy.
Well, here's why. Because, the reason I brought this up, my question is, does this guy make band look cool? Is he going to turn the image of the band nerd to a hardened scrapper? Somebody you don't mess with unless you got a taser. You better be careful around the band director.
So
we're going to play.
Change the image.
This band plays as long as I say it plays.
That's right.
And as the only one in this room who's never played in the band, I can't say a lot here, but I've heard through the grapevine.
I kind of feel like he's making fun of us right now.
No, not at all. But I've always heard, at least through the rumor mill, that there's some interesting rites of initiation, rites of passage that band. So will a rite of this band become, if you're going to be in this band, you've got to be tased?
If you're in my band, you got to go through the tase.
Yeah.
I like it. I think it should be. And
I'm predicting that shows up in the news in a couple of years, that there's a suspension because of hazing, because of band members being tased. I'm being a soothsayer here.
I like it.
I think we're going to see the day when the football players are afraid of the guys in the marching band.
Hey, I will tell you, a couple of seasons ago, I was walking off the field and the band was marching off, and I thought, well, I can just
slide through the line.
No, you don't break the ranks. I learned that night. Nope. I got yelled at. I mean, it was scary.
I think there's
for a minute,
famous story our fellow podcasters Rick and Bubba tell about getting in the line at or breaking the line at a parade.
Really?
Yeah, it's a big deal.
I didn't know
Don't
that.
break the line.
This guy just looked at me. He was like, "Out of the way!" And I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, you were scared.
I thought Mad Mardigan was coming through
So
or
you
something.
tased him.
Right.
Oh,
That's a pretty crazy story, though.
I like it.
I'm willing to stand up for a lot of things, but I'm not getting tased.
No,
For something like that.
over.
I'm not confronting a police officer.
No.
He doesn't even have to put his hand on the taser.
No,
Hey, you
Not-
want me to
hey,
quit? You
not-
want me to go home?
Not to play Amish Paradise one more time. We're not doing that.
No.
That's a Pride of the Green Wave joke right
Yeah,
there.
it is.
Yes.
That's right.
I think that might have been a different song before
Brother Weird Al
got a hold of it. Yeah,
But we use the version that our brother created, so
of course.
it is Amish
And keep it in the
Paradise.
family.
Yeah. All right, so we're ready to move?
Yeah,
All right.
let's move on.
Story number last for today has to do with the Great Wall of China. I don't know if you've heard this one or not. Came about 3 or 4 weeks ago. China's Great Wall has been pierced by Genghis Khan, the Manchus, and now allegedly a couple of construction workers named Xing and Wang who wanted a shortcut. Authorities in China arrested 2 people for smashing a path through a section of the ancient wall, a cultural icon and United Nations protected heritage site. The area of the breach was a broken down section far from the restored segments most Chinese and foreign tourists are familiar with. So there was this section. So these folks wanted a shorter route for construction work that they were doing in nearby towns, and so they broke through the Great Wall of China.
Well,
in doing so,
in Xing and Wang's defense here, it was a broken down section of the wall.
Yeah,
but they were just pushing a few
it's like,
little rubble around.
Right, we got some stuff over here. We need to get over there, and we can either go down to the next gate or whatever, 10 miles down the road.
I mean, this is the Great Wall of China.
Yeah.
Well,
what are they supposed to do?
I am going to say on just a quick search through the old interweb,
I
mean, this thing started construction around 680 BC, and they finished it around 1681. So this thing took a few years to... Maybe, I just don't know that you take a wrecking ball to something that is BC. I mean,
I really did enjoy the fact that Genghis Khan, the Manchus, and now Xing and Wang
that is really
are
well
the
written.
ones who have broken through the Great Wall of China.
The trifecta of Great Wall.
I tell you, that wall would have been broken down a lot earlier and a lot more often if they'd had caterpillars back then and bulldozers and backhoes.
I mean, can you imagine Xing and Wang talking and basically they're like,
careful.
It's sort of messed up already. If we just knock the top off that right there, we could just have a little hill here.
Mm-hmm.
I picture Wang saying, I guess we've got to go all the way down to the gate. And Xing saying, I've got my own ideas. Let's see if I can come up with something like this.
No doubt.
I have no doubt this will work.
This is a common problem, though, with these old buildings and structures. You remember the story earlier in the summer where a guy wrote his name on the Roman Colosseum?
Yeah.
Something like Joni Loves Chachi or something like that on the wall.
I think it was in John Deere Green, actually, like the old country music song.
Randy was here. I forget what it was he wrote, but he had somebody, he posted it online, so he's a really smart guy.
Yeah. I don't understand the desire to kind of go in and damage and destroy intentionally historic areas. Like, I think all of us in this room's been to Machu Picchu. I can't imagine going there and like trying to knock over stones or paint something on it just out of spite. But if you're working on the other side of the wall and it's a big detour to go across the wall going down there and it's already kind of fallen in.
Right.
And I think it's not a bad idea.
Maybe part of this is, when we talk about the Great Wall of China, isn't that one of the 7 ancient wonders of the world? I think maybe.
I think Biden said there
possibly.
are 9.
One
wonders
of the 9
of the ancient world.
And so
I believe the Great Wall is one of the
It can
seven,
be seen
yes.
from outer space. It's a huge
Yeah.
deal for us, like Machu Picchu is, right? But for Zing and Wang, it's just
in the
another
way.
spot right there, right?
Is it possible they had no idea what it was?
Yeah, the Great Wall of
Could be.
China's there. It's one of the seven
And,
wonders of the world.
So,
the
it
ancient
said
world.
that they were doing construction in nearby towns. And so I guess they just needed to get their stuff to the
Yeah.
nearby town.
The Great Wall is one of only two ancient wonders still standing, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
You got the Hanging Gardens,
Mm-hmm.
which is gone. Here I go.
All right, here we
let's
go.
see.
We're gonna see
You've
if you get
committed
it.
to it.
Colossus.
That's two.
That's two.
Of course, you got the pyramids, which are still
Still
standing.
there.
Okay, they're there.
What is that for?
Three.
Yeah.
What? Well,
Colossus.
Great Wall, Colossus.
Okay,
Hanging
You
yeah.
got
Gardens,
Hanging Gardens. That's four.
Four with-
pyramids.
Yeah.
Er,
there is-
I didn't know there was going to be a test.
Don't give them to us yet,
I'm not.
Jason. You're looking them up, right?
I've got them right
You got
here.
'em?
Yeah.
This is not good radio.
All right.
Because I'll just be silently.
You got the Hanging
struggling
Gardens
to-
of Babylon.
I don't know.
I think we're
Three
struggling
more.
here.
Okay,
All
so
right, Jason, give them to us.
it depends on which the lists all vary, but here are some. So, let's see what site this is from.
Yeah, so there's not an official 7.
Okay,
That's what
here
Jason
is
said.
the 7 from. This is from
Oh,
National
Temple of Diana.
Geographic. Yeah,
The Temple of Diana.
yeah.
Colosseum in Rome? No.
Well,
Maybe,
the Colosseum's still standing, so.
Okay, you have the statue of Zeus is
All
one.
right, yeah.
The Temple of Artemis
Or Diana.
or Diana. This says the Mausoleum of Halicarnassus,
That doesn't
not
seem
really
like
sure.
one
Never
of them
heard
to
of
me.
that.
Colossus of Rhodes,
Mm.
the Lighthouse of Alexandria.
Okay. Yeah.
So maybe the
that.
Great Wall is one of the modern. I don't know.
They're
if you
ancient.
search it,
They're now Machu Picchu's in one of the lists, right?
It's in the more modern because it was like what the 1500s, 1600s, something.
Yeah,
like
Machu Picchu's in there with
You know,
Lloyd's.
That's right.
that. Yeah,
Lloyd's. It's on the newer list.
But they don't serve the sheriff special.
And
I'll tell you
no.
but Machu Picchu is going to outlast Lloyd's.
Looks like it.
that. Machu Picchu also, if you are considering vacationing down toward Machu Picchu, just realize no handrails. So
Right.
all the steps.
None
And,
whatsoever.
and listen, this fat boy needed some armrest because the oxygen is not plenteous.
Yeah, it's yeah. No mosquitoes.
Air's a
though.
little thin up there.
And I will say too, just if you ever, and I encourage you, go see Machu Picchu.
Oh, man,
One of the
awesome.
greatest things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
But take a roll of toilet paper with you because they're going to charge you a sole per square.
There you go.
And that was pre-inflation, so it may be more.
Maybe more. You know, I was just thinking the other day, and I don't know if I was walking up some steps and, starting to black out or something, and I thought about there's that section over there where there's where people actually go up and down these steps.
Oh, yeah.
What's it called?
Well, there's isn't it the Sun Gate on one side, and then there is the Huayna Picchu, the mountain that you
there you go, Huayna
climb up.
Picchu.
You have to get there like really early in the morning to go there.
And they only
Several people a year die on
they
it.
die.
Yeah, because there's no handrails.
And several people freeze, I believe I've heard as well, right? Because again, no handrails, and we're talking about maybe like thousands of steps, right? At least hundreds of steps. It's all the way up the side of a mountain, right?
It's crazy to see.
And there's like steps and death, right? Those are your two options, right? So I was just thinking about that the other day, and I don't know what made it come into my mind. I think maybe I was climbing the steps at Homer Smiles Stadium up to the top.
When you get up there near the top at Homer Smiles, you'll get a little bit of a nosebleed started.
Yeah, I think the air gets thin up there too. Elevation 325 feet.
That's one of the 7 wonders of Leeds, Alabama.
It really is. We need to come up with those. That's one. Buc-ee's is clearly
Oh,
one.
unfortunately.
Barbers, yeah.
It's one of the
Barbers, Buc-ee's.
Buc-ee's is one of the modern wonders of Leeds.
Oh, we need to, that'd be a good podcast.
Lehigh.
We need to come up with our 7
Somebody write
wonders.
that one down.
I'd make a
Quarry.
note.
Let's take an action item, please.
I've got one right here.
All
right,
right.
I
Well,
think
while
we're-
Jason's
yeah.
writing it down, We're going to take a little break.
Hey, can we say this? We're going to let our stations identify themselves while we take a break.
We pause for station identification. We're back, and we have a quotation, of course. This is the centerpiece of each episode. And the quotation we're going with this time is attributed to Benjamin Franklin. And I think it's going to be our common practice that whoever brought the quotation to the table for the week will be reading the quotation. So that honor goes to Jason today.
So I found this quote just, searching through and doing research on some quotes when we were talking about this. But I think it's very true in life in general, but it also has the ability to be tied into what we're doing here with the church. So the quote is, "Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn." And so, I know in the idea of going through medical training, medical school, you can read about this, especially in years past. There was this idea in teaching, especially surgeons, that you would see one, do one, and teach one. So you would see a procedure being done, then under the guidance of another surgeon, you would do the procedure, and then as part of your training, you would turn and teach someone else to do the thing. And by those 3 steps, you really learn to do what you were doing. And I think that's based off of perhaps this quotation, or maybe this quotation is based off of that. I don't know which came first, but I think it's that same context. Context. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but if you and I are sitting here and I tell you something, chances are you walk out of the room and you're going to completely forget it. If I sit down and take the time to teach you something, you'll probably remember some of it. You're not going to remember all of it, but you're going to have a remembrance of it. But if I involve you and we work together on something and involve our time and effort towards it, now that's when you're going to really learn something, know how to apply it, make it a part of your life. And so I think there's a lot of things that are applicable to our daily lives, both as humans, but also as our applicable to our walk as Christians, being the light in the world that you see in this.
Yeah.
So what do you think the real difference maybe is in this between the tell and the teach? Because those two seem to have a real relationship and involve sort of obvious that it's different. But I think certainly in his creation of this quote, he meant 2 different things between tell and teach.
I think maybe the casual nature of telling versus the formality of teaching.
Maybe there's
or
more
the structure of teaching.
Right. There's got to be more of a plan behind something that I'm trying to teach.
I would think intent goes into it a lot too, because
Right.
if I'm just telling you something, I'm not really intending on you necessarily to have a remembrance of it. I'm just giving you information. But if I'm teaching you something, I'm presenting it in a way that hopefully you'll have remembrance of it and be able to use it.
Yeah.
Well, you can't teach an unwilling audience, right?
That's true.
You tell somebody something, whether they want to hear it or not, but teaching assumes that the people are there to learn. So you at least have that relationship going in teaching where you have a student who wants to be there or needs to be there in order to complete some kind of training.
Yeah. Can I tell you this week's old man story?
Oh yeah,
So
love these.
We might need.
Who's the old man?
We might need bumper music for this week's old man story, brought to you by in the future. So we all have school age kids that we're dealing with getting homework done and taking tests and all those things. And so, at our house, I have math. Millie has everything else, right? She's the humanities professor. Mm-hmm. I'm the math professor, right? And so the math world to me in today's world, and I say this as an old man and a guy who studied math, right? That was part of my college, was a math major. Just today's methods and technology just eat me up, because I've done, or been part of helping with so much like Delta math. And if you're listening to this and you don't have any idea what that is, it just means it's just an online tool, right? But it's just questions and answers and things. And this is not about necessarily the teachers, because I don't know exactly what goes on in class, but it's just the tools. And so the old man story to this of involve me and I learned was when I was in high school, one of the things that we did was we had homework. We went home and either did it or didn't do it. And the next day it was like, all right. So Miss Rosa T. Brown, who lived in room 209 of Munford High School, would say, all right, young people, hang it out to the board. And so you'd go find your spot on the blackboard, and she'd say 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. Put your answer, work your problem out on the board, and then she'd come back around and say, explain it. Right? So you would, so you didn't know what you were going to get on the board, and you had to explain. So if you copied Joe's paper and didn't know how in the world you worked that problem, and I think about that, and there was involvement in that, right? Mm-hmm. And so you had to know what you were doing, and you had to know how to tell someone what you were doing. And, I fear that in today's world of technology, some real simple old methods have gotten lost that make a whole lot of difference when it's all said and done. And like I said, I don't know what I don't necessarily know what they're doing in class, because if I ever ask my son, what I get? I don't remember. I get a lot of I don't remember. Yeah. It's like, dude, this guy's got amnesia, I think. But
selective amnesia.
But I mean, it's like, if you're really going to learn something,
could a teacher get away with making a student do a problem on the board in front of the whole class anymore?
I don't know.
Is that kind of taboo now? Because
maybe it is.
That might embarrass the student.
Well, and in most of the classrooms, there's smart boards now. Do they even use a dry erase marker on them very much?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, I don't even know if it's even possible, but it's like, you've got at some point to, and unfortunately, part of what she was doing was preparing us to be tested, right? So it was a test before the test, and now it's a test that as a high schooler will make you a little uncomfortable, right? Get out there in front of your friends and and throw up all over yourself, right? So
motivate you to get that.
So there was some motivation, right? And so I liked that. As I got away from it, I appreciated that process of, all right, we're going to hang it out to the board, and we're going to show whether we know what we're doing or not.
Yeah,
this is how Jesus taught his disciples. You have a number of formal discourses. Matthew structures his gospel account around 5, but you can look at the parables of Christ, sermons of Christ, teachings of Christ, through all 4 gospel accounts. But also, Mark 3:14 comes to mind, that Jesus chose 12 disciples that they might be with him and that he might send them out to preach. And we always think about that last part, that he sent them out to preach, but that's not the only reason he called them. The 12 apostles were there also to be with him. And I've heard people make an application that I don't think's wrong, that he needed friendship, he needed companions. But that's not all that's going on there. It was part of his training process. In those days, that's how really all the rabbis would teach their closest disciples, is they would live life with those disciples and show them a new way of life. There's a saying, I forgot where I got this, but there's a saying that goes back to the days of the rabbis. It's like a blessing that you would give to a disciple, and it would be, may you be covered by the dust of your rabbi. And the idea is, may you follow your rabbi so closely in life that he's kicking dust up on you as he goes. You're living life with him. And it just goes to the point of this quotation that to really learn something, you got to do more than tell somebody something or even teach somebody something. They need to be trained on the job.
Right. Yeah.
On the job training.
Well, and then Christ didn't just teach them, but he involved them by sending them out. He gives the 12 the limited commission, and then he gives everybody the Great Commission to go out and to present Christ to the world, making disciples. And that's that final step, because in being told something, you can forget that. In being taught something, you can hold on to that some. But when you're involved in something like that, so when he told his disciples and apostles to go out and teach, that involved a lot more than just hearing what he was saying and holding on to it. That involved them being a mouthpiece for him, spreading his word. And we know the apostles had some miraculous gift of being able to say this, because there wasn't a written text like we have at that time. But, as we try to get involved in church here, it's our duty to take God's word, learn it, so that we can be involved with it, because we can't be involved in teaching others if we don't know the word.
We've all been involved in having special responsibilities around here, right? I mean, and part of that, and I don't know, I don't think I've been what I want to be in this area, but the idea of involving others, one of the things I think about is trying to mentor others. Drew and I were having this conversation a few days ago, and I don't remember the exact context of it. I think it was right before Deep started. We were having this conversation about the need to, about the need to mentor others. And, we talked about a lot of years ago, a number of years ago, there were a lot of things that Drew would just have on his plate when we were young adults, just because there were so few young adults at Asheville Road right at that time. Mm-hmm. If we wanted to do something young adult related, Jason was probably going to do it, or I was, or maybe Stacy was going to do some stuff or whatever. There was very few people in that group, and that group started growing. And the thing we were talking about is, I guess to some degree it's worked, because we were talking about how many people were a part of what was about to happen at Deep, right? And so that's successful. But the part that, I was saying, I don't know that I've been what I want to be at that is, when you have a responsibility, mentoring somebody else, bringing others along for the journey is really important. And that involvement of others and trying to help others be successful at something and even better than you are at something it's what we need in the church. It's what we need to grow. Mm-hmm. And, even in our jobs, it's what we need. It takes something to have that mentality, right? Because we all have this sort of innate desire to be the best, right? Or to excel at something. But to have this idea that I want somebody else to be better at this than I am,
it requires a lot of humility.
It does, but it makes us all better. Mm-hmm. And when you're talking about the church, that's where we all go through these stages where we do a lot of different things on our journey, but if we can bring others along, and help them, and then what I've always seen is I've left things at Asheville Road is somebody else comes in, they may do some of the things that I did, and they add their own ideas, and it's like I never would have thought about that.
Yeah,
and so I think in some degree that is success, and maybe you're involving others because they see you work, and then but I don't know. I think I want to be a little more intentional in that area.
Yeah, we're bad at this, and I thought about the opposite of this quotation is, if you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. And that kind of attitude is very common. I know where it's coming from. I thought it'd be interesting to talk about, just for a second here, because we're getting short on time, why we're so bad at this involve me and I learn thing. We're not good, and I think this is across the board. I'm not just talking about here at our church. All churches, all businesses, schools, we're really not good at the involvement part. But we know what it'll do for an organization and for the people. Because you involve them, they get ownership, they care more about the organization. And then, of course, once you're gone, there's somebody who knows how to do stuff. But I'll put in my 2 cents. I think there's the pride element that you've already touched on, Tim. And in addition to that, it's just harder to bring somebody in and involve them, because then in addition to doing the job, when you're involving somebody, you're still doing the job at first and teaching somebody.
It's more work.
And fixing their mistakes in the beginning. Now, as they learn, they can take the load off of you. But we're so short-term in our thinking. And I think most biblical concepts are long-term. They think long-term. It's about the consequences in the future. It's about what today's behavior will bring years from now.
I think a big part of it, too, and I think it goes along with the pride side of it, is our inability or our desire that we have to hold on to control or to give up control. We like to be in control. We like to do things based on our own will. And when you involve somebody else, now you're placing the greater purpose's will above your own. Because by involving others, you're reaching, say in church work, by involving others to go out and spread the gospel or to teach classes or to do things that we could do. But by involving others, we're now working towards God's will. And when we're doing it ourselves, we kind of want that pride of looking back and saying, man, look what I have got done. I am a good Christian person. I've got A, B, and C done. And when we involve others, we're elevating them above ourselves, because then we have the opportunity to say, look what they've done. And that's hard for us, because our nature is to want to be in control, to want to have our hands wrapped around everything, and to not involve other people.
Right. Could we learn something on this? And this is, I know all three of us feel the same way. But is there something to learn here when we're teaching Bible classes? I probably shouldn't have brought this up, but all three of us prefer to just lecture in our classes, right?
I try not to even take a pause because I'm afraid someone's going to raise their hand.
Well, all kinds of hijinks can happen when you open up the floor for discussion. And sometimes you feel like people come unprepared and they just say something because they're expected to say something. That doesn't add anything to the conversation. But I think instead of saying any questions or comments, if we had like built-in good questions to involve, and that's hard. That's really hard to do.
It's more work,
sometimes.
right? I mean, it's more preparation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have to have the right question for the discussion to do what we're talking about here today.
Yeah.
It's got to be a learning discussion, not just discussion for the sake of breaking up the.
Well, and the environment,
class.
of that class makes a big difference, because if you're in an auditorium that'll sit 300 people and there's 30 people in there, it's hard to have conversations because you just can't hear.
That's right.
You spoke to one of my sacred cows, right? The whole time I had education, one of my dreams was to destroy the auditorium class, right?
Right.
Not to destroy it in the sense of we're not having a class, but to have it somewhere else. And,
right, because it's not built for a class.
Right. And so I think you're onto something, that sometimes our Bible classes really aren't necessarily Bible classes. Sometimes they're more of a lecture. Mm-hmm. And so if we think about if we really want to create a learning environment, you do have to involve the people, but sometimes it's got to be more than just there at the building, right? They showed up and the light bulb goes off and they have a great comment. And this is something that, as adults we don't do that much of, but more preparation, creating an environment where people are expected to prepare. I think back to one of my favorite things, was when we did we would do the church-wide study, right? And, from top to bottom. And there was, we purposely set in those classes, we said, you're going to be the facilitator for this class. You're not going to be the teacher for this class. You're going to be the facilitator. And we broke up into different groups, and I think we had to keep one in the auditorium just for old time's sake, but, they were basically small groups that we broke out, and we studied the same thing, and we had one person who basically got everything going, but everybody was expected to have studied ahead and maybe bring some thoughts to the table. And that's a learning environment. And I think that's, some of our Bible classes, we, are it's a challenge to that, because maybe a really large percentage of our Bible classes, the only guy that comes prepared, or girl, is the one at the front of the room.
Right.
And I think that's where the open home meetings have made a really big change. I think the open home meetings are so much more about the involvement side of it than the just teaching side and telling side.
They're structured for that.
Yeah.
We're out of time, but there's so many other elements of
we went all
we
over the place,
discuss.
didn't we?
We can go on a little longer if we need to. We need to be taking people when we make visits.
Yeah.
This is one thing that, it's just easier for me to hop in my car and go. But it would be better if I called somebody and showed them, how to do a hospital visit, how to make a home visit, how to visit a shut-in. What kinds of things do you say to someone who's grieving? What kinds of things do you say at a deathbed? And all forms of Christian service, Christian leadership need to be shown, not just told.
Yeah.
And honestly, we don't really do a whole lot of either. We put men in leadership positions without teaching them or involving them. And that needs to change.
One thing I was thinking about this morning, and thinking about the fact that we were going to get together and record this on this quotation, is we need to do this as much as we can. Well, I think we all try to do it for our kids, right? In terms of, involving them in things that we do. But I thought about sort of a unique position I bring to the table here is my dad died when I was 13 years old. And, that was a point in my life where there's a lot of stuff to learn when you're 13 years old, right? Y'all both have boys. I do too, right in that age area. And there are a lot of things that I've sort of had to shuffle my way through the rest of life, that a dad teaches a son at that point. And, one of the things, I think, number one, it's really important for us to, and those are simple things like, wiring something at the house, or, how to work on the truck, or, just life, but one of the things that stuck with me is if you can find an opportunity to mentor somebody that's in a situation like that, and I'm not just saying my specific situation, but somebody that needs a mentor and it's something that you're gifted in, bring them along for the ride. And let them see what you're doing, let them touch it, let them have an idea that, they're not going to, break things when they give things a try or whatever. But I spent a whole lot of my life, not trying a whole bunch of things, and I'm trying to get better at that. But it's just because that creates a problem for you, an obstacle for you that you've got to overcome. And so for us, just as men, if you see somebody in a situation like that, mentoring is an amazing gift to people who you see need it.
Yeah, and I've seen people try to program this into youth ministry in particular, and
it's not
a programmable.
It's not.
service.
It's got to be organic in how
it's just
done.
something that good, giving people do for someone.
Observant and know the need, and when God puts that opportunity in front of you, you take it. Yeah. So thanks for joining us. There are a lot of passages to talk about in the future. We'll see you next time.